It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We've done it, hockey fans. The week has arrived. NHL season is about to kick off, and that's why you're still tapped into your source for fantasy hockey news, the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. It's our last mock draft of the offseason, baby, and that means hockey is here. Thank you for joining us for the Monday episode. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back inside the lab, everybody, to the Monday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I am joined, as always, by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Steele Roden. And on this side of the microphone, it's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper terms of use for details. Available in 28 states. Not available yet for our Canadian listeners. But still, we got our last mock draft of the preseason, pal. We've done it. Like, I don't know what to say other than I need to see some action. You and I have been grinding through the offseason. We love all the support, but this is where we're about to get very, very serious. Bets are going to be back. Our daily updates, coverages, waiver wire Mondays. I can't wait for it all. We got some special guests coming up. I'm so fired up. And why don't you set us up for this last mock draft? I'm in 8th and you're in 10th. I hope these have been helping our listeners.
Last mock draft before the NHL season begins October 10th, which is a Tuesday. This is a 10-team league. It's all what we've done before. 2 centermen, 2 left wing, 2 right wingers, 4 defensemen, 2 goalie spots, and 4 bench spots. Categories are the same that we've been talking about all month long. All those basics, hits, blocks, penalty, power play points, goals, goals, assists, all of those good things. But yeah, this is our last mock draft of the season. Super excited. We've done a couple of 10-team ones, but this is another one where you can go out there and get your team absolutely stacked if you draft properly.
I feel like a lot of formats, Steele, for the most part, the general, not casual, but the majority of fantasy leagues out there, I think, sit around the 10 to 12 mark. I think you and I happen to roll in some more dedicated, degenerate fantasy circles. We know, I think your league's 12 or 14. Both of our listener leagues are 16. The Keeper Dynasty League I talk about all the time is 16. So I think this angle of 10 is really the general one to look at. And honestly, we've covered a lot of angles headed into this season. And now is when really, as a fantasy GM out there, you're going to have to really now kick your analysis and your research into high gear. It's easy when there's no games going on, Steele. You know what I'm saying? Like, now you really got to pay attention to line rushes, injuries, our team's faring well. And we're already seeing some big news around the NHL. We're going to continue to cover it. Josh Norris's injury is surprising.
Yeah.
Signings going on. You got to pay attention because obviously all the pre-draft research is key, but you got to keep your finger on the pulse.
Yeah, very much so. And that was one thing that you just mentioned to me that I had no clue about. So I'm very happy that we were able to hop on here, 5 times a week, just discuss hockey. We send back many, many messages, many, information through Instagram, social media of just what we're learning. So I had no idea what was going on with Josh Norris.
Yeah.
Josh Norris and everything that was happening with him and sort of what, again, like what's going on with his injury and what the coaching staff is kind of hiding away from the media right now.
We're not going to speculate. It's just he hasn't played in any exhibition games and we thought he'd be back. Anyway, the quotes are the quotes. You've made a couple of picks. I'm going to make my second pick here. Second round, I got Brady Tkachuk at 8th overall. You know how I feel about Brady Tkachuk, Steele. There's some interesting names on the board here. Crosby, Kaprizov. And you and I are high on Kaprizov, and I'm already liking this draft for me. I'm taking him at the 13th overall spot.
Yeah, I was a little bit flustered. Kaprizov again at 13 is an absolute steal if you're going to get him there. he really is going to do such great things for the Minnesota Wild. He's an absolute beast. And I again, like with how talented he actually is, I don't think he gets enough credit of how special he actually of the capability and ability that he brings to Minnesota.
The market he's into.
Oh yeah. The market, you just, it's complete opposite of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like,
let's not talk about that yet.
We won't get into that. But I would honestly, like, I was drafting last. I had the 10th pick in the draft, and I was a little bit flustered when it got to me. I wasn't even looking at the draft board. It got all the way down to me super, super quick. I'm actually, fairly happy with my picks. It's got your boy Jack Hughes as my number one centerman right now, and then I got my boy Cale Makar. So far, so good. I was a little bit flustered, but it's actually turned out great, especially in a 10-team league.
I did a little season preview predictions piece for all the writers at Dauber Hockey, and you have to pick the award winners, Steele. And I had a long look at Miro Heiskanen. I had a long look at a couple of players, but I ended up going with Cale Makar. And how can you not? There's just this kid is absolutely special. So if you're able to get, I think this is one of those situations that in a 10-team league, of course, your team's going to be loaded and you're probably going to love it in any format. If you're able to get Cale Makar on your squad, that guy is just absolutely special. And there's some other good D-men out there, of course. Even Dougie Hamilton getting some love, Steele, on this Norris Trophy conversation. But just to circle back to your team, 2 of the best young players in the game. I don't think you can go wrong with that. Also, on 2 really good teams. I love that.
2 really good teams. Who are you looking at right now? You're a couple picks away from your third selection.
Thanks for bringing me back, Steele. Appreciate that,
pal. I was looking at Alexander Ovechkin, but he goes 25th overall in the draft. He was going to be my next pick, so now I got to reevaluate who's on the board and what I'm trying to target right now.
For sure. And I went with 2 left wingers. I got to now balance out my squad, and I've been killing it on the blue line, and I'm going to go back to one of the same guys that I've been drafting. He fills out the peripherals. He's going to be a Norris candidate this year. Speaking of which, that was the other. What a nice segue there, Steele. We're killing it. It would have been also Rasmus Dahlin. And I'm so high on this player, Steele. I hope I don't get proven wrong, but we'll see.
Well, dang it. My last 2 picks just got taken from me. It's okay. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to pick up another young stud who's going to be very, very special. And hopefully, again, he can get over 100-plus points. Okay. I'm going with Timmy Stützle at 30th overall. He's going to fill out 2 eligible spots right there. Both Jack Hughes and Timmy Stützle have that center left wing dual eligibility. I'm going to grab my first goalie right now. And I know it's a 10-team league. But if Connor Hellebuyck's going to fall to me at 31, I'm going to go out and get him because I've talked about his fantasy talent. He's been the top or one of the top 3 fantasy goalies for the last 5 years.
Steele, we've also talked a lot about, while I take a goalie that I think is due for a big bounce back season in UC Saros. Yeah. We've talked a lot about the approach to waiting for goalies. And I think it's a really good one to employ. But also we've talked a lot about having to react to how the draft goes down. So if a bunch of goalies go off the board, does that mean you need to run and get one? Maybe not, but it also means that bin of studs is gotten a lot shallower, more shallow. I don't even know if that's a word, but you know what I'm getting at here, right? You can't just always stick to one approach. You have to be nimble in these drafts. And I swear to you, the GMs that come out on top usually, Steele, are the ones that are able to, when you were just mentioning getting flustered, they still make good picks and understand how to balance out their team. Because look, if goalies are flying off the board in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, that strategy of waiting and waiting could actually burn you. So you have to adapt.
Very much so. And, that happened to me in I believe our competitive. Yeah, with me. I sniped Skinner right off your table. And I had to go out and just grab another forward who, I thought was right there in that same area of my draft position. I ended up having to facilitate that trade for Linus Ullmark for my player Tyler Toffoli. Yep. Just sometimes it goes that way. I really dropped the ball on that one. Like who did I draft for? I drafted Devin Levi, I believe,
and then I think you took Gibson, I believe,
and then I took Gibson with my last pick, and I was like, I can't go the entire season with these 2 again because
you're right,
because he's a rookie.
Well,
Gibson's on a terrible team.
We're going to continue to break down this draft, Steele. We got to get to break. But we will continue this mock draft live on air of all of our picks, even though I might auto draft here next, Steele. I might just add a little man into the queue, see if it works out. But today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. The NHL season is here. Will the Golden Knights reign supreme? We love the NHL, and we know you do too. That's why we want to tell you about Sleeper. Sleeper is our go-to platform for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. With Sleeper, you have the chance to win 100 times your cash on daily fantasy. The NHL has never been more exciting than it has right now. McDavid, Ovi, Crosby, Makar. Simply select more or less based on their stats, such as goals, assists, points, saves, and more. You heard us. Fans of this show are going to love Sleeper. They offer 100 times payout. So start paying attention. Make the right picks. We'll help you there, and you could win big. This is available in only 28 states right now, but it's growing, baby. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details.
What's up, guys? Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils here, and let me tell you something about Discover. If you like using your debit over credit, I just learned about something that's definitely a game changer. Discover Cashback Debit. It's a checking account that rewards everyone with cashback on everyday purchases. That means you can get cashback on NHL tickets or head-to-toe hockey gear to make this season a total win. Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Every dayers, tomorrow on the show, expect our first round of big-time bets as the NHL season starts October 10th, Tuesday. Could not be more excited to get the big-time bets flowing again with the NHL season. So thank you so much for tuning in every single day. And hockey is upon us. Stay tuned. We love all that support out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get back to the mock draft, the last mock draft of the season. Flip, your pick in the 5th round is coming up very, very soon. Who are you looking at? Who are you targeting right now?
I'm looking at the blue line because when you look at the position breakdown, I got 2 left wingers. So that leaves 4 forwards left, and I got 4 D. So I want to keep going back and forth here. And I need me a piece of this Edmonton Oilers power play steal. And I'm really, really buying into Evan Bouchard as well. So I'm going to take him in the 5th round. It might be a bit early, but I'm liking this. I'm liking this angle here.
He's been going a lot earlier than I've been expecting. And from what I've seen so far in the preseason, he looks like an absolute stud right now, quarterbacking that power play. Him and McDavid are, feeding off of each other. It's actually just really, really great. I'm actually going to grab an Edmonton Oiler right now as well. Hey. I've got Zach Hyman in every single fantasy league that I'm in so far. He's on the board. I'm going to take him off the board with my 5th round selection. And I'm also going to go to the blue line over here and to another guy who I've drafted very, very frequently this year as well, and that's Miro Heiskanen. I'm also buying into the hype.
You've been all over him
on the power play with the Dallas Stars. Again, him feeding off of Jason Robertson or Rupe Hintz, Joe Pavelski in front of the net. He's their number 1 guy, and you got to get Miro Heiskanen if he's available.
I so wholeheartedly agree, and I think you can back me up on this. Maybe one of the first players that I was very high on that you were like, you sure about this, Flip? And I just kept talking about him. Alex Tuck has been such a good performer. He fills out the peripherals a bit. He loves playing in Buffalo. There's clear chemistry on that top line and on the power play. And again, like you want to get a piece of the Edmonton Oilers offense, the other teams right up there that you want a piece of, LA Kings, Buffalo Sabres, probably the Toronto Maple Leafs as well. I'm trying to follow that strategy, Steele, of at least getting a little piece of all of the elite offensive teams when you can, of course. But that's how I'm looking there with Alex Tuck, a guy who's also, since going to Buffalo, been nothing but performing.
Yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic. It's also been great to see the resurgence of Jeff Skinner as well. Again, watching these projections on the screen, you go to Jeff Skinner's name, you're like, projected to 35 goals, 75 plus points, but he's been producing in Buffalo. He's found a new home there, and Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck and Rasmus Dahlin have been a huge part of his, resurgence as well. So everything's just seeming to click right now. If Devin Levi can, again, be that number 1 guy for them, they're going to be an absolutely dangerous team in the Atlantic Division.
I agree. I think a lot of people are focusing on Levi, and there's a player that I think, and I know Fantasy Cats are aware, but I think really we know Dahlin has stepped out. We know those top 6 forward guys and even the supporting cast offensively can get it done. My question is about Owen Power. Can he step up and do what he's expected to do? I think he can. And I love that they brought in Connor Clifton to bring some of that sandpaper to play with Dahlin, take the stress, let Owen Power run that second power play, or, hopefully the top with Dahlin eventually. But I really do think a big part of their success this year comes down to Owen Power.
I think so as well. We've talked a lot about some of these young guys right now, Owen Power, Jake Sanderson, some, what they're going to be able to bring to the table. And obviously Jake Sanderson, even throw Jamie Drysdale in there, some of these young defensemen. Sure. It's a little bit different because, Jake Sanderson just signed that huge contract after 1 year. Owen Power still trying to find his footing in the NHL with the Buffalo Sabres and what he can do offensively. But I agree exactly with what you said.
Steele, all I keep hearing in my head is I need to watch some hockey, pal. And you were talking about bets. I'm excited for us to track our side bets. I'm so pumped up to just see hockey back on the daily, and it's actually tomorrow. Like, I can't even believe it. It's been a long summer, dude. Holy. And shout out to all of our listeners for holding us down. I'm looking at my center position. I'm on the board here in the 7th round. I need some center love. I don't have a single center yet. Jack Eichel is still there. That feels like a really, really good spot to take him, Steele. I'm sorry if that was a guy you were looking at, because I know you do love that guy.
It was a guy. He was going to be my next pick, but honestly, it kind of helps me with this decision because I've already got two centermen now. Okay. I didn't have to go after one, and this makes my decision a little bit easier because now I can get Alex DeBrincat without sort of that indecisiveness. I'm going to go with DeBrincat. Again, I really like what's going on with Detroit, with Dylan Larkin and Moritz Seider having a bounce-back season. Hopefully, Ville Husso can be that number one guy and be a consistent part of their team. So I'm going to go and get Alex DeBrincat. I'm also going to go and get Mo Seider at the 71st position.
Back at me.
I'm pairing up some superstars right now. Moritz Seider just on the outside looking in, but I got to get Moritz Seider because of those peripherals, and hopefully, again, the projected 45 assists. Hopefully he gets double-digit goals.
That's fair because that was the next guy up on my list. I think him being around this late in the draft is also a steal, but I'm fine with taking Mikhail Sergachev there at the end of the 8th round, top of the 8th round. But I'm trying to always steal, and this is something I've been a victim of in the past, is looking at the names and just loving a guy's game. I think you would admit my team last year, I did that too much. I just went for the players that I really like all their games. You got to remember about balancing out these categories. You got to remember the teams they're playing on too. Like Nick Suzuki last year, I think I took him in the 5th round. He's a great player. He's a really sound all-around performer. He's on the Montreal Canadiens, who don't score goals. He's not a super offensive guy. Cole Caulfield goes out. I can't predict that. But just remember to balance out your team. And this is fantasy. You're not building a team to win games. You're building a team to stack points. And that's what we're trying to do, Steele. But also, don't forget, we got break, and then we're coming back for the end of this draft, baby.
Coming back. We are in the 9th round right now. We've got so many more picks to get at. 4 bench spots, 1 goalie position, a D spot, and a couple of right wingers for myself. Flip's got a couple of picks out there that he's probably going to snake me again. Even though I just got him back, very, very fairly.
Respect.
So it's all love here on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We do have another sponsor to get to. This episode is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home together? Winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need as the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into an MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers.
This Halloween,
Mystery lurks around every corner.
bundle up with Disney Plus and Hulu.
What are you scared of?
The dark.
It's spine-tingling fun on Disney Plus with Haunted Mansion and Goosebumps.
I'm gonna need you to spread the word.
Then feel the bone-chilling terror on Hulu with The Boogeyman and American Horror Story Delicate.
Something's happening to me.
The Disney Bundle with Hulu and Disney Plus. All of these and more streaming this month. Plans starting at $9.99 a month. 18 plus only. Access content from each service separately. Offer valid for eligible subscribers only. Terms apply.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Hit that subscribe, hit the follow button, leave a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. We appreciate all that love and support. And again, thank you so much for getting us to 1,000 subscribers. We're almost at 1,100 already. It's been absolutely incredible to see. So thank you guys all for all that support you show us every single day. I had to get all of that in so I could get to my 2 draft picks there.
Hey.
I kind of, I'm not sure if I wanted to go with these 2 players right off the bat here, but they were on my queue board. I ended up drafting Tyler Toffoli. I pair him up with Jack Hughes. They're going to be on the first line together. I really like Tyler Toffoli's peripherals as well. And then I go out and get Joel Eriksson-Ek, who's a very underrated centerman in the NHL and fantasy leagues. He brings a lot of the peripherals, shots, hits, penalty minutes, and he also gets points, hopefully 65 plus of them this upcoming season. So I'm very excited that he's fully healthy and back with the Minnesota Wild.
I think any Minnesota player that you draft, Steele, you're happy with.
Yes.
But what you're saying about Eriksson-Ek, that is one of those dudes that just fills out the categories and moves about his business in silence. You never hear anything about Eriksson-Ek in a bad sense in any shape or form. He's a prototypical gamer in the NHL realm, and he's someone that more GM should probably pay attention to. But I'm telling you right now, Steele, this is for sure my best mock draft. I'm loving my team. I got Stuart Skinner a couple of rounds ago when you were in your ad read. I'm loving how this is shaking up. I got a right wing slot to fill, a D slot to fill, and then my 4 bench spots. And I'm going to stick to my guns on my right wing and take a guy that I've been talking a lot about in Drake Batherson. Shots on goal well over 200, hits well over 100. I think he's going to get a lot of power play points as well in Ottawa. I love me some Drake Batherson, a guy that honestly, on any other team, I think he's a first liner.
Yeah. No, very, very clearly a first liner, but there's just so much talent in Ottawa right now. I'm going to fill up my last defensive spot right here and get Darnell Nurse.
There you go.
I'm absolutely in love with my
We're both sold on Darnell.
Yeah, he's going to be an absolute unit there for the Edmonton Oilers. I love my defensive group right now. Cale Makar, Miro Heiskanen, Moritz Seider, and Darnell Nurse. I'm also going to go out. Do I pick a goalie, or I have so much centerman right now. I don't really need another centerman. I could go get, I think I'm just going to pull the trigger on a goalie. I'm going to draft Tristan Jarry of the Pittsburgh Penguins.
That was your second goalie, right?
Second goaltender. Yeah. I'm thinking about maybe drafting a third as well.
I wouldn't have waited any longer if I were you, but I love the pick. I have 1 D slot left before I fill up my bench. Gustav Forsling is here. Thomas Chabot. Chris Letang, a lot of interesting names, but you know us, Steele. Keandre Miller's out there, baby, and I think you're going to see a crazy good step out from him, and I'm taking him to round out my blue line.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about Keandre.
Yeah, we don't even need to. Let's actually not, because I think every single mock draft that you and I have done this year, I've taken Keandre Miller, so we know that angle is covered. But I really do hope, Steele, because of how much we've pumped him up, me especially, I just really do think he's right there on the cusp of being an absolute star on the blue line. Yeah, I'm not saying 60, 70 points, but I mean in the fantasy realm, he's going to bring the body. He's more than capable with 40, 45 points. And honestly, if he can do what he's been doing and progressing, I think it's all going to be backed up. So also, let's be clear, really good blue line already in New York, and arguably the best goalie going in Shesterkin.
Yeah, arguably the best. I know there's
arguably, you know what I'm saying. He's in the conversation.
Yes, he's in the conversation.
Come on.
Sir. Who have you drafted goalie wise? Who are you?
Saros and Skinner.
Saros and Skinner. Okay, yeah, you got some good goaltenders there. I've got Connor Hellebuck and Tristan Jarry. I'm really liking the shape of my team right now. You're a couple picks away. Who are you targeting? You targeting defense?
There's
centerman?
some really interesting names on the forward
There
board.
are.
Trocheck, Matty Beniers. I've been loving me some Matty Beniers. I think that's another man that's going to step out. But to maybe fill out the Cats a little bit, I'm going to probably go to Trocheck if he's not taken, because I think you and I have also been clear on players that are able to play with the sandpaper that Trocheck plays with while still bringing the offensive value. Those are players that you really should be targeting. And I'm going to take him here in the 8th round, bottom of the 8th round. Is that right? No, 13th.
This is the 13th round.
My bad.
Yeah, the math is slipping a little bit, Flip.
Steal. It's been a day, pal. It's been a year. It's been a month, but we're still here. We're grinding.
I'm very upset that Jonathan Huberdeau goes at 127. He was going to be my next pick. He was going to be a sleeper pick for me.
Sleeper pick for a lot.
Last winger for myself. I'm going to go with Patrick Laine to fill out that last right wing position. I'm also going to draft this player a little bit early.
Wow,
but Jacob Chikrin of the Ottawa Senators. He's going to be my 5th defenseman. I love my defensive group right now in this mock draft. I think that's going to be the best part of my team.
Just took Dawson Mercer as well. That's a little bit of a surprise. And look, this is a 10-person mock draft.
Yeah.
So there is going to be, you and I have been grinding it out in some 16-team leagues. So the fact that these players are still around maybe shouldn't shock me because of the limited amount of people drafting. But I feel really good about getting Dawson Mercer as a bench spot. By the way, Yahoo, which is where we're doing this right now, has Mercer as a center right wing eligibility. I think a lot of these Steel we're about to see like solidify and change. So that's another one of those things as a GM. You may have drafted someone thinking, oh, great, dual eligibility. And you're about to be maybe rudely awakened by the fact that they're going to clearly shift to the position that they're natural at, which I think we can both agree Mercer's better on the wing, but who knows?
Very much so. I didn't even notice this until now, but there's no utility spots. So you really got to figure out what positions you're targeting. And how many you've already drafted at this point. Who, you're a couple picks away. Your second last player of the draft. Who are you looking at right now?
So I got a backup centerman. I got a backup right winger. I think I'd like to round it out by going very balanced here and taking a D-man as a backup, and I'll probably take another goalie. So I'm going to go with the D-man first, hoping that I don't actually even have to go to my third goalie, whereas you can probably count on one of your defensemen going down at some point. These guys play probably the toughest position in hockey. We could talk about that another time. Shabbat, Gostisbehere, Noah Hanifin, some guys that I personally really like. Sean Dursey and Philip Ronek.
Yeah.
Oof, this is tough for me, Steele, but I'm going to go with Thomas Chabot. I'm going to go with Thomas Chabot. He's at the top of the board ranked. I'm going to go with Chabot.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Was that your last defenseman or was that your 5th defenseman?
That's my bench spot. So like my backup.
Bench spot. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to go out and pick up Nazem Kadri. He's going to be my 4th center, 4th centerman.
A lot of centers for you.
A lot of centerman. Yeah, I got 4 centermen, but every other player of mine has dual eligibility except for Tyler Toffoli. So I've got a wide variety of stuff. I'm also going to go out. It's between Anders Lee and Taylor Hall, but Anders Lee.
You've been on Anders Lee.
He has those peripherals. If he's healthy, he's got those peripherals, but Taylor Hall's playing with Connor Bedard. I'm going to go with Anders Lee, honestly. He's going to fill out those peripherals.
You've been heavy on Anders Lee.
Yeah, I have been.
Also, here we go. Look at this situation, Steele. The goalies left on the board, Kochetkov, Fleury, Cam Talbot, Binnington, Ranta. Some of these situations are a very serious split. Ville Husso is still on the board. He's going to be the number 1 in Detroit. Regardless of what happens, he's going to be the guy. I'm going to take him, and I'm feeling very lucky, as my voice goes here, to take Ville Husso as a third option.
Yeah, and there's going to be a few goalies still out there on the market in a 10-team league as well. I would assume most teams maybe draft 3 players, but regardless, 10 teams, it's not going to be a lot of goalies, or there will be a decent amount of goalies out there on the waiver wire. So if anything happens, they should be available. So we're all done for picks.
Hit me with your team, Steele.
Yeah, I'll list my team off real quick. I actually really, really like it. I think I prefer my actual fantasy teams over this one, but in a 10-team league, this is going to be an absolute.
I'm loving my squad.
Dominant team right now. So Jack Hughes, Timmy Stutzla, Zach Hyman, Alex DeBrincat, Tyler Toffoli, Patrick Laine. This is where it gets really good. Cale Makar, Miro Heiskanen, Moritz Seider, Darnell Nurse, Joel Eriksson Ek, Jacob Chikrin, Nazem Kadri, Anders Lee, and then Connor Hellebuck and Tristan Jarry. This is actually a very, very good team. I really like my goaltenders. I like my defensive group. And then I've got, those young studs and Jack Hughes, Timmy Stutzla.
Again, hard not to like it when we are in the 10-team leagues. But Jack Eichel, Adrian Kempe at center for me. Brady Tkachuk, Kaprizov at left wing. Right wing, I got Tuck and Batherson. And on the blue line, Dahlin, Bouchard, Sergachev, Keandre Miller. In the cage, Saros and Skinner. And on my bench, Vincent Trocheck, Dawson Mercer, Thomas Chabot, and Ville Husso. I'm liking the balance of my squad too, Steele. But hey, this is what we do, baby. Bread and butter. I can't wait for this week. I can't wait for some bets. Let's get it, Steele. Holy.
Big time bets. The first one of the season. Hey, maybe there's even a side bet to start off.
There's going to be
as well. There might be. I'm going to start off. I haven't decided what I'm choosing yet, but I think I'm going to start off, dip the toes in the water. I'm not going to dive in right away. I'm going to take it easy for the first day of the NHL season. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Make sure you're tuning in Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning. Eastern time is when you can find all of our episodes on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.
Hey, Prime members, you can listen to this Locked On podcast ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app today.